Dear students, good evening. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 9th December 2020. The first article for discussion, the dangers of misplaced optimism. Let me ask you a question. What is the first step in finding a solution? Listening and acknowledging there is a problem. If you don't acknowledge a problem, your mind will never search for a solution. If you see the economy and the reaction of the government today, the government is not even ready to accept the problem, acknowledge there is a problem. What the government believes is a V-shaped recovery is possible in India. So there is a steep fall due to lockdown and there will be a steep rise once this lockdown is over. But that is not happening and government is not ready to acknowledge this. Let us understand this way. What are the four wheels on which demand in an economy runs? One is consumption, public consumption, private consumption, after that investment, and fourth is exports. If you observe private consumption, the private consumption is still on the negative side. It was minus 56% of GDP. Now it has come down to minus 27% of GDP. It means still you are on the negative side. When we go to the investments, when there is no demand, do you expect investments will increase? No. So, gross capital formation is an indication for the amount or investment available in the economy. If you observe this, it is still minus 7%. And exports are not on rise. Exports and trade is shrinking. In this context, when these three tires of the economy demand are punctured, what is the tire that has to support? That is the public expenditure. It means government, if it acknowledges that the demand has fallen and there is recession and something has to be done, government in all its mind has to increase the expenditure. That is, public consumption expenditure has to increase. Let us see the expenditure of the government. Revenue expenditure is lower than last year. At least last year by this time in the first 2 quarters, 59% of the budget expenditure was made. Now it is only 55%. And the second thing is capital expenditure. The capital expenditure will create long-term value to us. Even the capital expenditure, there is a declining trend. This clearly shows that the fiscal conservatism or physical conservative thinking of the government is an invitation to doomsday for our economy. So, why the government is doing? It is due to misplaced optimism, or there is economy is recovering. We have an hype which is revolving around it. Why this hype is coming? In the first quarter, the growth has fallen 23.9%, and in the second quarter, it has come down to 7.5%. It means relatively a negative growth is there, but still we have recovered from the fall. That's how the government sees it as. But government has to see that our economy is in recession and deep trouble, and it is the time the jobs are going, livelihoods are threatened. Government needs to take serious steps. If government fails to take the serious steps after few years, it is like treating the dead patient. That is what Mr. Raghuram Rajan has stated. The next is, in Stanford ranking, hope for Indian science. What do we mean by this hope for Indian science in Stanford ranking? Normally, when we talk about India's investment in R&D or achievements in R&D, we don't have an optimistic answer. In this case, Stanford professors have developed some index to see how many contributions have come from India and various countries across the world. So, to our surprise, 2% of our scientists have taken space or place in their particular list of the things. That clearly shows that the scientific community in India is still vibrant. Most of these scientists have come from public institutions like IITs, Indian Institutions of Science, etc. It means that the public institutions are vibrant in R&D. But only the problem in India's R&D is financial allocations, budget allocations. They are less than 1% of GDP. And next, when we come to the national education policy, it has recommended for NRF, National Research Foundation. This National Research Foundation is meant to bring in scientific temper, increase the allocations in the budget, etc. That's how I will put it as. Next is fresh vista. You know, Supreme Court has cleared all the obstacles for the construction of the central vista, and huge amount of budget is been allocated for this. In midst of the pandemic, where health crisis and economic crisis are looming on the country, when we take up such a grandiose project, it will send wrong signals to the public. In this context, the money can be used for building the healthcare infrastructure in India that will give a solace to the people. In the midst of this misery, going for these grandiose buildings that clearly shows that the political system is indifferent to the suffering of the people. On one side, government is showcasing the physical conservatism towards bringing up demand, creating jobs. On the other side, it is spending for these grandiose projects that sends a wrong signal to the public about the polity itself. Next is constant vigilance. You guys might be knowing about Khalistan movement. It is a separatist movement or a Sikh nationalism movement. It has the support from India and also from the Sikhs of Pakistan and all the Sikhs living across the world. So this Khalistan movement in India is dead. And at that point of time, Blue Star operation, Indira Gandhi's death, and everything, if you observe, it has brought in a great pain in Indian hearts. And after the Blue Star operations, still Sikhs are even today are unable to integrate completely with the Indian political setup. So it is a religious movement which is looking for a separate nation for the Sikhs. In spite of it not existing today, now and then we hear murmurs related to that. Let me put it this way. Pakistan ISI, it wants to raise this Khalistan movement and connect the Khalistan extremists with the Kashmiri separatists. And the second, especially Canada-based Sikh people or else Canada-based people. These people are very active on Khalistan movement. In this context, government has to maintain a constant vigilance and security agencies shall act like watchdogs for these fringe section actions so that it will not be revived again and it will be a great security challenge for India. Next is the rise of AI economy. If AI economy has to be established in India, what are the three things do you think are necessary? First is AI trained people, that is human resources are necessary. And what is the second thing? Without data, there is no AI. AI's fuel is data. So we need to have a legal framework how to handle the data, and then security framework with regard to the actions of the companies, and proper governance framework how these have to be used. And finally, after this data, we need to have one more thing, that is digital infrastructure in the country. You know, India has huge digital divide. So creation of digital infrastructure, internet for everything, it is essential to make economy AI ready. On one side, digital technologies are increasing in India, but not the digitization of India. So the digital divide is only, the number of people who have internet access is only 18% in India. That shows the intensity of digital divide in this country. Digital divide is also manifest in the form of the speed of the internet connection, not just having an internet access. Further to this, if you observe, states like Tamil Nadu already declared a strategy how to use AI in governance. And similarly, AI centers of excellence are proposed by Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog and Prime Minister has said AI for all. It means there is a motivation at the highest level to make AI part of our governance. So if you can solve these three problems, then automatically India will be a front runner with regard to artificial intelligence technologies. Lessons from Hyderabad. This is about GHMC elections. BJP, though did not get the sufficient majority to take up the mayor position, it was able to gain largely from previous election. It has come in the second position after the ruling TRS. It is for a municipal election. For a municipal election, Home Minister and then many of the central ministers, they have come and campaigned in Telangana. BJP wants to make the Telangana as the second state of its presence in the south after Karnataka. In this context, the Congress appears to be so totally dead. It means Congress is getting or else is paralyzed beyond repair. That's how it appears. It means opposition space to BJP is missing. then where this opposition space to BJP has to come from? That is from the states. At the central level, there is no opposition to BJP due to weak Congress. So the opposition has to start from the states and it has to consolidate at the center. So that's why reviving the strong regional parties is essential. That is the message given over here. Next is SAARC needs a terror-free milieu. This is Prime Minister. So SAARC appears to be in a third or else heaven, or I can put it as it is neither alive nor dead. In this scenario, Prime Minister, what he stated is, unless it is terror-free, free from violence and terror, it cannot be strong and cannot help for regional cooperation. So, SAARC, if you observe, South Asia is a region which is least integrated in the world and most populated and most diverse. In this scenario, regional connectivity will, if not improved, there is no regional prosperity. And if India vacates the space in SAARC, China is ready to jump in. And on the other hand, India-Pakistan bilateral issues, especially terror-related issues, are stalling the SAARC and its progress. This is where Nepal Prime Minister's statement becomes important. Giving a fresh impetus to SAARC is not a choice, it is necessary. It means SAARC is not a choice, it is compulsory. Without such an organization which is developed with such a painstaking effort, it has to be protected for the prosperity of the region. That's what Prime Minister has said. Mount Everest grows taller as new height is announced. So Mount Everest, it is also called as Mountain of Friendship today between China and Nepal. Because Mount Everest, it spreads between Tibet and Nepal. So Tibet being the part of China, obviously it has become the China-Nepal Friendship Mountain. Previously, there was some difference on the height of the mountain from Chinese side and Nepal side. Now, both of them have agreed that the height of the mountain is announced as 8,848.86 meters. This is what is the new height of Mount Everest. Center firm on farm laws as Bharat Bandh passes peacefully. See, first time a strong agitation has come against the BJP. And it has come from the farmers. In this case, why MSP is there in India in the first place? There are two reasons I will tell you. Due to lack of proper insurance system, agricultural insurance, wherever the country's agricultural insurance system is strong and enrooted, there is no MSP. And third, our farmers do not have bargain power. Why? The small and marginal farmers do not have bargaining power in India. So because of this, we have kept MSP. But the situation, did it change today? No. Still, insurance is not rooted in India. Fasal Bima Yojana is not getting successful. People are not accepting it. And third, due to vagaries of monsoons, lack of predictability in production, insurance companies also not to be faulted at. So that's where the income security to the farmers is especially in the form of MSP. So farmers expect this MSP to be strengthened rather than thrown away. That's where their particular pain is. But government do not want to respond, or even government wants to make the superficial changes, but the fundamental changes which it has initiated, it don't want to change. That's why government appears to be firm on these farm laws. These are the points to be discussed. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Rambabu signing off for Law Excellence IAS. Have a great day.